Why? What does that even do? No, that.
Five. From here on out, I was in my comfort zone. I was literally born playing FNAF 2, and 4 and 1 are completely free. I booted up FNAF 2 and started running 1020 using the classic Shift 25 strat. 26 seconds, no blackout. Okay, that's fine, whatever. Check the left vent, Balloon Boy's there. Okay, you know what? That's fine. I'm calm. Check the right vent, Toy Bonnie is there. Man, y'all really want me dead, but I'm cool, I'm chill. This is my game. I don't get nervous playing FNAF 2. Wait until the next 2-second interval, flash Foxy, pull through cams, and whine for 7 ticks. As written, simple. Done this a million times. What the what? No. This is my best game. Dude. No. No. Oh my god, no. That was a 2. That was a 2 and I was holding. What the fuck? Oh my god, I was past the big 3. Dude. As you can see, I am mildly surprised. You know why? Because that death is quite literally mathematically impossible. If you think you have the worst luck in video games, I beg to differ. Let me explain the stupidest death in FNAF 2 history. Before we explain why I died, let's first talk about why I was so surprised. Foxy's kill timer is defined by this equation. This D variable is the time that Foxy has been sitting in the hallway without being flashed, counting up by 1 every second. Once this equation becomes true, which can only happen on 5-second intervals, Foxy will be marked as got you, and the next time you flash the hallway, or on the next 10-second interval, Foxy will jump scare you. Anytime that you flash Foxy when he's in the hallway and the got you flag is not active, D is reset to 0. The D variable is also paused during blackouts. Now, something else to note is how the flashlight works. The flashlight can only be turned on and off on 1-second intervals. So, if you flash the flashlight at 36.01 seconds for only 1 frame, the game will still see the flashlight is on until 37 seconds, even though it might not be visually displayed that way. For this reason, Foxy's D variable is always reset on the next second interval. So, if you flash at 36.01 seconds, D will reset at 37, because that's when the flashlight turns off. So, let's watch the footage back and plug in our time into the equation. Our flashlight is on when the timer is above 42 seconds. So, Foxy's equation should count up as a 0 on 43, a 1 on 44, a 2 on 45, then the camera is dropped before 46. Remember that D is paused during blackouts, so D should stay at 2 until I flash Foxy. Because the lowest number that Foxy can generate is a 21 as compared to 17, in the worst case scenario, a D value of 4 would result in death. But with D at 2, it should be impossible for me to die to Foxy, even with the worst possible RNG. So how and why did this happen? This is where it gets really dumb. The reason that Foxy's interval resets on the next second is because of a really strange quirk in the game's code. You see, whenever a blackout occurs, Foxy's kill interval is offset by 1 frame. For example, let's say we flash Foxy at 22 seconds into the night, meaning a blackout has not occurred yet. The game will add D by 1 at 23 seconds exactly. Now, imagine I got a blackout at 26 seconds, and we flash Foxy again at 32 seconds. But instead of D being added by 1 at 33 seconds flat, it's added at 32.984 seconds. 33 seconds minus 1 frame, because it's offset by 1 frame. But remember, the flashlight doesn't turn off until the next second interval, so the flashlight actually turns off at 33 seconds, 1 frame later than when D was added to Foxy's equation. Because this equation will always round up to the next second, we get an extra second to work with. Basically, Foxy gets nerfed by 1 second after the first blackout. Okay, well, I got a blackout. Right here, Toy Bonnie attacks me. You know what's funny? Toy Bonnie's blackout is the only blackout that doesn't do this. But even then, I should be okay. In this case, D would just be 3 instead of 2, which means I'm still safe in all cases. However, rewind back to the very start of the run. You see that? I started my timer 15 frames later than when the night started. Now fast forward to when I dropped my cameras into the blackout. 45.89, 11 frames away from 46 seconds. Adding those 15 frames to 45.89 gets us a true timer value of 46.14 over the 46-second interval. And wouldn't you know it, Foxy happened to roll a 0 in his random number, a 1 in 5 chance on top of all of that. And I died. I honestly can't even with this.
You're back, as always. Guaranteed authentic. Let me guess.
You're I am stronger now. I feel better now. My joints don't hurt. Life will change. And the crew there cares tremendously about your health.
Schedule a free consult at limitlessmail.com.
After I learned why this happened, I was done for day 1. My motivation was killed. There is no way I could play any more of these games for the rest of this day. But I was hopeful. I had already made it to FNAF 2 within the first day of the challenge, and considering that FNAF 2 was over halfway into the FNAF lock, this challenge shouldn't be too bad, right? Day 2 was when the RNG gauntlet was really showing how difficult it could be. Let's separate the 6 games that we have currently. I'm going to call these the Big 4. FNAF 3 and FNAF 6 both have RNG involved that can make these much harder. Sister Location is skill-wise the hardest max mode here, and FNAF 2 1020 is pretty consistent when mastered, but for an unlucky player, it can always have some stupid RNG that can make the night harder. However, I did make a bit of progress today. For the first time, I managed to actually get some runs into FNAF 2, so I'll explain the FNAF 2 strategy here. If you aren't aware of the basic Shooter 25 strategy, here's what it is. Essentially, this timer will determine when we should wind the box and put the mask on to trigger blackouts. Earlier I explained how Foxy works, but this strategy is built to perfectly counteract him. On every digit ending in 2, starting at 22 seconds, pull up the cameras and wind for 7 ticks or 3.5 seconds. Then at every digit ending in 6, drop the cameras and put the Freddy mask on immediately. From here, there are different cases that you'll have to deal with. Luckily, there is a way to flowchart all of them. We have case 1, which is when there's a blackout and Toy Bonnie is not present afterwards. Case 2, when we have a blackout and Toy Bonnie is present afterwards. Case 3, when there's no blackout but Toy Bonnie is present. Case 4, when there's no blackout and Toy Bonnie is not present, but a different animatronic is. And case 5, when there is no blackout and nobody is present. Case 1 is the easiest case to deal with. If you drop the camera and Withered Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, or Toy Freddy is there to give you a blackout, great, that's what we want. Let them do their blackout, but once it's done, hold the mask on for an extra 0.5 seconds. You see, all the left animatronics and Mangle are guaranteed to leave after a full 5 seconds with the mask on, and blackouts last exactly 5 seconds. But the animation of pulling the cameras down and putting the mask on doesn't count toward those 5 seconds. So waiting the extra 0.5 seconds will prevent these animatronics from ever attacking you. Because this is case 1, Toy Bonnie isn't in the right vent. So simply flash at 2 seconds, pull up the cameras, and wind as normal. I should also mention here that instead of flashing the flashlight by tapping control, hold the flashlight on as you pull up the cameras. That way, you'll have the flashlight on for as long as possible if you happen to be desynced with Foxy. Case 2 is the exact same as case 1, except Toy Bonnie is in the right vent after you deal with the blackout animatronic. Wait until around 4.5 seconds on the timer, flash the hall, and pray that Toy Bonnie leaves the vent as early as possible. He has a 1/2 chance to leave the vent on every 0.5 second interval, but remember that I am the unluckiest FNAF player in the entire world. remember about Toy Bonnie is that you don't need to wait the extra 0.5 seconds during his blackout, as he can only leave the vent after the mask is fully on, meaning you can leave your cursor at the bottom of the screen to take the mask off as early as possible. Case 3 is when you drop your cameras and there's no blackout, but Toy Bonnie is in the right vent. If there is no blackout at all, the first thing you should do is check the right vent. We actually want Toy Bonnie to be here, as his blackout can replace the normal office animatronic blackout in this cycle. Once you see him, throw your mask on immediately, and the time should roughly line up with the normal office cycle. If you pull the cameras a bit late, or Toy Bonnie takes a bit to get out of the vent, just wind for a bit less to compensate. Case 4 is when there's no blackout, Toy Bonnie isn't there, and there's someone in the left vent. This case is extremely precise to deal with. The moment you see an animatronic in the left vent, flash the hall and throw on the mask. You want to keep the mask on for a full 5 seconds, but there's one issue. If you happen to have the mask on at the next 3.33 second interval, and Toy Bonnie was in the back event, he can move in and start his blackout. If he does this, you are guaranteed to die to Foxy. So you always want to make sure that you pull the mask up before the next 3.33 second interval. Now, you might wonder why I just said a 3.33 second interval instead of a 5 second interval. For some reason, Toy Bonnie moves into the vent blind spot on a 200 frame counter instead of a 5 second interval. So you have to make sure that you don't trigger a Toy Bonnie blackout. Then, once the 5 seconds are up, you should be able to continue winding as normal. Case 5 is the most complicated, when you drop your cameras to no blackout and no one is in the vents. The moment you see that no one is in the vents, pull up your cameras and start winding. But make sure you drop them before the next 10 second interval. The Wibbit animatronics and Toy Freddy can only force your cameras down on 10 second intervals. And doing this prevents that from happening and from you going off cycle while maintaining some music box. Now, check the left vent again. If no one's there, great. Just wait until the next 2 second interval and continue as normal. If Toy Chica is there, first check if Toy Bonnie has moved into the right vent. If Toy Bonnie is there, then you're just dealing with a case 2. If Toy Bonnie isn't there, wind the box starting on 2 seconds up to 4.99 seconds. This should keep you roughly on cycle while maintaining the box. You might be asking yourself why you don't die in this situation, and that's because of the way the vent animatronics are coded. You see, out of the 3 vent animatronics, the only one that directly jump scares you and ends your game right out of the vent is Toy Chica. Because of this, Toy Chica has a kill timer that starts once she enters the vent blind spot. Toy Chica can only jump scare you if she's been waiting in the vent for 6 seconds and then you pull up the cameras. And because we watched her enter the vent blind spot on the last 5 second interval, we can wind until 4.99 risk-free. But what about Balloon Boy and Mangle? Wouldn't they be able to enter on the same interval as Toy Chica? Actually, no. You see, Mangle and Balloon Boy don't have a kill timer. They just enter the moment they're in the vent blind spot and the cameras are up. This would seem really unfair, as they could just enter while you're winding the box. So, to circumvent this, Scott programmed Mangle and Balloon Boy to only be able to move into the vent blind spot when the cameras are up, meaning we only have to watch for Toy Chica in this situation. If you're able to master these 5 cases, FNAF 2's 1020 becomes extremely consistent. The only thing that can still cause you to fail is insanely bad RNG from Toy Bonnie, which, because I am the unluckiest FNAF player in the world, of course happened not once, but twice today. I have been doing attempts all day, and some of them were actually getting pretty deep, but for some reason, I just kept failing on FNAF 2. Move it. Move it. Move it, little fucker. Move it! Again! Again with you! Swear to God, what is my luck? What is that? 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 1, 2, 3, 4.
Break.
5.
So that one break.
6.
Okay.
7.
Break.
8.
Play.
9. God, my fucking God. That's 1 cloud in a row! Though, I started to realize something. Through playing FNAF 3, 5, and 6 over and over again, I was starting to get better at those 3 games. So I thought about changing the order around for day 3. At this point, I was almost never losing in Sister Location, and rarely losing in FNAF 6. I was playing FNAF 3 as perfect as I possibly could be,
No.
but the RNG was still unavoidable, so that had to stay.
That's good though, that's good, that's good.
But instead of playing Sister Location 6 right after 3, I'd instead play 2 right after 3. With the new order of 3, 2, 5, 6, 4, 1, I knew that if I could just get past the big 4, this challenge would finally be over. With my new order, I got off for the day and would pick it back up on day 3.
No. Double key, double
Day
kill.
3 started off showing once again why I am the unluckiest FNAF player to ever touch these games, and it was really starting to weigh me down. Literally, take a look at what was happening in FNAF 3. I was reaching my breaking point, and I honestly didn't know if I could continue this challenge any further. The Big 4 was genuinely starting to look impossible. Now, throughout this video, I've always talked about the Big 4 or getting through the Big 4, but I haven't explained why FNAF 4 and 1 are so free. Everyone knows that FNAF 1's 420 is stupid easy. You just set your camera on camera 4B and do the light check, camera flip, loop.
No.
But you might be
I
wondering
practiced
why I
that
have
part.
FNAF 4 placed this far back.
I made sure
Well,
of that while
it's
doing
the
no
use of
clipper.
FNAF 4 420 strategy.
I can do this.
The first thing to
I
understand
can
for this
beat
strategy is
with an
AI
AI.
caps. In other FNAF games, most notably
In under
FNAF 2,
500
the animatronics AI values are
That's how I want
20
to
AI.
verify
Most are
level
capped at
islands,
15
just to
with some
verify
special
it.
case exceptions. This means that even on 1020, there's still some RNG involved. However, in FNAF 4, the only AI cap is Freddy, who is capped at 6 AI. Freddy doesn't move throughout the entire night, so his AI just makes his timer count down
No.
a bit faster. So,
Why?
for Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, we know for a fact
But
that
that
on
can
every
easy
single movement
listen for
opportunity, they are
levels.
always going to move. Movement intervals
Probably
in
is.
FNAF 4 are
Maybe
always
it's
exactly
easy
5
to-
seconds, so we can accurately predict exactly
And
where
then
Bonnie
you
and
can
Chica
use
will
ID.
be at any point during the night. You see, on every 5-second interval, Bonnie and Chica will always
Wow.
move forward, no matter what. But on every 10-second interval, they can either move forward or backward, with an equal chance for each. So now, let's look at both Bonnie and Chica's paths separately. Bonnie will start in the center living room, then move to the left hall corner, then the left hall, then the left door. Now, remember earlier when I said that Bonnie and Chica randomly move forwards or backwards? Well, that only applies on 2 of these squares. Bonnie can't move backwards when he's in the center living room because he's already as far back as possible. And he can't move forwards when he's at the door because he's already as close as possible. And it's these 2 situations which make this entire strategy possible. We know for a fact that if Bonnie is at a door starting at 5 seconds, he will be gone by 10 seconds, and we can go up to that door and clear him from the hallway. This means that as long as you never trigger any failed movements in the center living room by shutting the door or flashing the hallway on a 5-second interval, Bonnie will never be at the door on an interval from 0 seconds to 5 seconds. This movement pathing is the exact same for Chica, with the difference of the kitchen. You might think that having an extra room would offset Chica and make this strategy not work, but she's functionally the exact same as Bonnie in this instance. Once she moves from the center living room, she can never return to that square until she's cleared from the flashlight. So, Bonnie moving back in the center living room is
Go.
functionally the same
Ah,
as Chica moving
to
to the
run.
kitchen, meaning that this strategy works the exact same for her. So, if we start a timer, then flash the bed until 8 seconds, and then we reach the left door after the 10
Now let's go
interval,
get me
we
some
know for a
stuff.
fact that Bonnie will not be at the left door and we can flash risk-free. Then we simply go back to the bed, flash the bed to the next 8-second interval, then go to the right door and repeat for the entire night. Though it isn't that simple. Sure, Bonnie and Chica would be totally free, but we still have to deal with Foxy. Foxy will start in the center living room like Bonnie and Chica, then start running to each hall corner on 5-second intervals, making this sound. On every movement he makes, he has a 90% chance to go to the opposite corner and a 10% chance to enter the hallway. When he enters the hallway, he'll play a louder running sound. If you end up going to the opposite door of where he's at when he's in the hallway, he will enter your closet. We don't want Foxy getting in the closet ever, as it would mess up our existing strategy for the night. So we want to make sure that we always clear him from the hallway. If at any point you hear Foxy enter a hallway, disregard the current loop you're in and go back to that hallway to clear him. Even if that means going to the same door twice. You can only get jump scared by Bonnie and Chica if you go into the
Oh my God.
3 times in a row and then face the bed. So you don't need to sacrifice your loop for Foxy. We've already
I beat
determined
my
that Bonnie
third.
and Chica will only be at the doors for 5 seconds at a time, and they'll only enter the room to jump scare you on 420 mode after they've been waiting at the
54,
doors for
54,
a unit
and,
of 12 seconds. Meaning that in order to do this, they have to go out the door 3 separate times.
54.
With this strategy,
46.
the
54
first
plus
4
1.
hours of 420 mode are made pretty simple. But what about Nightmare? Nightmare is known for being extremely unforgiving with
200.
his strict timers and laugh
No.
RNG. But what if I told you that a brand new strategy has been discovered that reduces most of Nightmare's RNG? Shout out to Brayden for bringing this one up in the Discord server. To understand this strategy, we first need a basic understanding of Nightmare. Nightmare will start in the center living room,
56,
then begin
54,
running
and
between the corners of the
146.
hall,
That's
making
perfect.
sound cues to indicate where he is. He has a 50% chance to silently enter the hallway or move to the opposite corner of the hallway. Since Nightmare's AI is 20 on this night, he'll always succeed on every single movement that he makes. The moment that you stop hearing sound cues, immediately run to whatever side he's on and shut the door. Don't even bother flashing the flashlight to make sure he's there, as this will just waste time on his already strict kill timer. Nightmare's gameplay in the halls is pretty strict, but it is always winnable with enough skill. However, Nightmare's laughs are where the RNG factor comes in. You see, when Nightmare laughs, it indicates that he's teleported to the bed of the closet. And you need to either flash him on the bed or close the closet doors to get rid of him. However, these laughs can sometimes be fake, and Nightmare will actually just stay in the hallways. If you guess wrong on one of these laughs, you're likely to die. Now, here's how you can accurately guess if a laugh is fake or not. Whenever you're running from door to door tracking Nightmare, stare at the timer. Keep all of your focus on it. The moment Nightmare laughs, you need to know exactly where the timer was when it happened. Fake laughs have a 10% chance to happen on 10-second intervals. So, if a laugh happens anytime that isn't a 10-second interval, the laugh is real and you should check the bed in the closet. Now, if the laugh is real, you have to account for 2 different situations, as Nightmare has an equal chance to go to the bed or the closet on a real laugh. If he goes to the closet, nothing changes and the intervals are the exact same. But if Nightmare goes to the bed, the timer for fake laughs is now paused, meaning that fake laugh intervals will now be offset. For example, if Nightmare does a real laugh at 4:32 and you clear him from the bed at 4:37, he was on the bed for 5 seconds, meaning that the fake laugh intervals are now on 5-second intervals instead of 10-second intervals. Now, just repeat the same strategy from earlier with new fake laugh intervals. Now, Nightmare can still do a real laugh on the interval for a fake laugh. And in this situation, we can't really do much but guess how we normally would. But the chance of this happening is super low. So this strategy definitely increases the consistency of the Nightmare portion of this night. Overall, this FNAF 4 strat is really consistent unless you get really, and I mean really bad RNG. Now, back to how the runs were going.
Watch Five Nights at Freddy's 2 at home now.